Welcome to the Rowdy podcast, guys. I'm Nicky T.
I'm Kurt Ozan.
And we have our very special guest, Mr. Jade Eagleson.
G'day.
Yeah, Jade, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. It's good to finally be here.
Yes, I know. We've been talking about this forever, so I'm glad it finally
At least
lined
a
up.
year, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure of it.
Yeah, while we were still doing podcasts in my extra bedroom, now we're here in a non-extra bedroom.
Yay.
Yeah.
Looking good.
Yeah, man, it's fun. This place is nice, and it's lit well because our buddy Brett made it lit well for us. Yay.
Yay.
And now we're on 3 cameras, which is great. Look,
Yeah, I
see?
saw them. They're pretty cool.
There's one. There's one. There's one.
We're super thankful to that you shared your time with us, man. I know you're a busy guy these days, especially recently.
Yeah, just the kid. It's
Yeah.
for me. This is like a vacation right now, so this is good.
Yeah, you
Oh,
get
yeah.
to just come hang with the boys for a little.
Yeah.
Congrats, man.
Honestly. Yeah, it's
Little boy.
Child
Yeah.
2.
He's like
2 baby boys.
just slowly getting better with the colic and stuff now.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I can leave not feeling as guilty.
Yeah. I remember that picture of you just like passed out on the couch with him in your arms, like right after you guys came back home. And I was like, oh, he looks like he's a tired man.
Oh yeah. My wife is like the real hero though.
Yeah.
She's like up all night doing the feeding and stuff, and you know I try not to complain because she's just like throws the facts in my face. She's like, yeah, I got 2 hours of sleep
Yeah.
against your 3 or 4.
You're like, you're double me.
Nothing is worse than not sleeping. It just ruins everything.
It just makes your brain function at not as much percentage, like maybe like 35 percentage.
Yeah, I'm sure you get a lot of that with the fly dates, like the festival fly dates. Those are the worst.
Yeah, we just recently played in Texas for this like charity thing, and then the next morning it was like 5 a.m. lobby call or something, and so I wanted to hang out so bad, and there was an open bar and all this fun stuff, but I'm 36, I'll be 37 next week, so it's like not doing that anymore.
It's hard.
26-year-old Kurt would have been like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
but nope, go to bed right after the show, which is the way to do it, man. But it's like if I don't sleep, I could be doing the coolest thing in the world, and I just won't enjoy it because I'm too tired.
Yeah.
It's just like I'm get. So shout out to your wife for doing all that. I mean, that's 2 hours of sleep, bro. I would lose it.
Yeah, she's a hero, man.
She's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm all for moms, man. I gotta adjust this seat again here. There we
Oh,
go.
yeah. Well, you
Look
can
at
move the
that.
mic closer to you, too.
Look at-
However
I
you want
guess
to do
that
it.
moves. I didn't know if it's stapled in.
Oh, no.
Look at
We can just get them all around wherever you want them.
Perfect. You got it.
That's why we got these ones. We had like these arms, like see that arm that's over there, and they just kind of like made it so we couldn't see each other because
Oh,
they were
really?
like 2. So we got these. They're really nice.
They weren't the best.
Yeah, but
No, I'm always moving things around.
it was fine for 2 people because you're just right across from each other.
Yeah.
But when you had 3, it was like the arm was kind of in the way. So slowly but surely, we're getting this exactly how we want it.
Oh, this is perfect.
Yeah, it's
I got it
awesome.
figured out. I didn't know I moved.
Well, we talked about family a little bit. What's good in the music world, man?
New
And we're
song.
cutting new songs tomorrow. It feels crazy. We just it feels like we dropped the album yesterday.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of hurry up and wait, and then
Always.
all this stuff comes out, and then it's like, all right, like it's time to do new music. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm in for that. I mean, we got lots of songs, but when you write 60 to 200 songs a year. I don't write 200, but I write a lot. And when you're sorting through all those, you don't know which ones are
The
the
winners.
best or the.
Yep.
And it takes a lot of sorting. And like even yesterday or a couple days ago, we're going through and they're like, oh man, we forgot about this song and that song, and that almost didn't, almost made the last album, but it's a crazy cycle. It's nuts.
Yeah, that's super cool. How
It's
much?
like a first world problem.
Oh, very much.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, and like your songs do well enough where I'm sure you get pitch songs as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like the tier I'm in right now. It's you're not getting like the #1 American ones, but there
Yeah.
are some publishers that have given me some great songs. Like over at Combustion, Keith in there, he
Yeah.
gave me the "Do It Anyways," and we
Yeah.
named the album after it. I remember it was like one of the last songs he played for that pitch meeting, and I was like, man, like I need this song. You have no idea. And it has all like the top-notch writers on it, like Ashley Gorley and them. And I was like, man, I need this song. So I got it. I named the album after it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if I reached out to them, they'd have lots of songs. There's some great humans in this town, as I'm sure
Yes.
you're well aware. Oh, let me shut this off.
Oh, you're good.
Rookie mistake. There we go.
Well, that's the thing too, is there's so many great publishing companies with so many great writers.
Yeah.
And they've been writing for so long.
Oh yeah.
And honestly, like for a while, the thing, like kind of what you're doing wasn't as prominent. So
Yeah.
for years, I'm sure they've banked songs that they've loved, but maybe didn't fit exactly the artist they were pitching to.
Man, we went into, I think it was Sony, and we asked for like songs from like the 80s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was just about to, because Ernest just cut a Dean Dillon song from the 80s or something.
No
too.
kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought George would have cut all of them, but who knows?
So you went to Sony, and then you said, give me songs from the 80s or 90s.
Yeah, there's a lot there. We didn't end up using any of them, but there's a lot of songs in their catalog. I was shocked that they still had them all categorized. They're like, yeah, we got these songs in this vein, and it was crazy. It's like listening to the work tapes that, you know, those guys probably after like 10, 15 years were like, yeah, there's no hope, but you know, the songs are still being listened to. So it's probably nice to know that country music is coming back around that heavily, that, you know, those songs are being looked at again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would love to go to Sony and honestly just get baked and just go through old work tapes and just listen to all. How cool would that be?
So cool. I remember going over to Seagale, and JD Groover is like one of the song pluggers over there. And he just was playing me stuff, like new stuff by artists that they had on site, but then also like old Stapleton songs and just like hearing stuff that probably not that many people have gotten to hear.
Man, so that Stapleton thing is so, we cut a song called Boomtown that Stapleton wrote, and he sent, like, all we had was a work tape of him singing, and I was like I didn't want to cut it. I was like, I can't beat this. But like, man, those old work tapes, it was just him playing, and it was insane,
Crazy.
and like, we did our best, but like, there's like one vocal run that I didn't copy because it was just like all over the map. It was like, like, I was like, I can't do that, man. Like,
like the Tennessee whiskey.
yeah, like, something like that. I don't know. It's nuts, but it's crazy, man.
It is amazing. And it's so crazy that he was just a writer in town for so long. I mean, he was doing, you know, his own records and stuff, the Johnson Brothers and stuff, but imagine hearing that and then, yeah, like you're saying, cutting your own vocal on it, you know?
Oh, man,
But man, you have such a great voice, and yours is so different than his. Like, you have that awesome bass voice. You know, you probably wish he could sing some of those low notes.
I don't know. I think he's pretty happy with his voice.
I'm just saying, it's cool that your voice is different. You know, it's not.
I appreciate
it's
that.
not apples and oranges. You know.
Yeah.
I remember the first time hearing you sing live at one of Nick's events. I was like, golly. You know, you were like, your singing is awesome.
Thanks,
you got a killer voice, man.
Oh
Appreciate
yeah,
that.
one of my absolute favorites. It's and very distinct. Like that's one of the things I talk about is like when you hear someone's voice, do you know who that is? And yours is definitely like
I
that.
appreciate hearing that.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's like I always thought I have like a strange voice is like that nasally thing. So there's this thing going on in town. I'm not sure if I love it, but everyone's using the AI to like copy the people's voice so they can put them on demos.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, all right, so like a couple buddies of mine did that to mine, and it does not sound like me.
No way.
It's like, it doesn't work.
That's
for
wild.
me.
Yeah.
It sounds like if I sang like really croony or something. I was like, that sounds like a sweeter version of me that, you know, made good decisions in his 20s. But it's like,
Not all the Marlboro Reds.
yeah, exactly.
That's wild.
I've also noticed that with like a lot of like content creators will do that too, where it's like they record their voice, and then if they want to do voiceovers for something, something where it's not as important as like your art, like your record, but if it's like, you know, it's like, you know, you could do all your radio liners that way.
I've heard of that.
Oh man, that's genius.
So smart.
I mean,
It
I
happens.
love doing those a little bit, but after like 40 stations, you're like, okay, like,
Imagine, that's like, so Canadian radio, I'm sure there's a bunch, but imagine it's that plus all the American radios and you're doing them both.
Last time I checked, it was like 47 reporting stations in Canada,
Crazy.
plus all the other ones too. You want to make everyone happy, so you try to do as many as you can.
Yeah.
But it's like, I mean, it's fine when it's just like one or two liners, but if you haven't done them in a while, that's when it catches up to you, and it's like, you have like 4 for every station.
Yep.
So and I'm like really self-conscious about like the liners I do. I'm like, everyone's got to hear this like before my song comes on.
Yeah.
Or if it just is an ad, and if you've got like someone like, I don't know, like Josh Turner or someone before you, or whoever else that's got like those voices, You're like, I gotta make mine sound great. So I had like compressor. Like, sounds beefy.
When we had the radio show in Pittsburgh, we would like ask our friends to just like do voice memo liners for us. We're like, just give us like a voice memo
I
liner.
forgot about that. We'd have friends send us like silly, like Rod would be like hitting his all his crazy voices. And
Yeah.
random people like on the radio in Pittsburgh. Man, I miss that. That was funny.
We had a good time making a radio show. We just spent money doing it. And also, they gave me a radio show. I was supposed to like co-have it with a buddy that knew how to make a radio show. And then they were like, well, he can't do it. So here you go. Just figure it out.
Oh, man.
So my first radio show, it's a, what was that, 3-hour radio show? Yeah, 3-hour radio show. Took me 9.5 hours. And then it would take me about 6 regularly. So that's like placing the song, you know, in and out, editing, and then us talking over it and not messing up, which was hard for me and Kurt.
I learned. I mean, I got a lot better at it.
Oh, absolutely.
When we started doing it together, you were a lot better at talking than I was.
Well, because I had been doing it for like a year, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I see those guys in the studio doing it in real time, and I'm like, oh, man. Like,
it's crazy.
I'm sure you're better at liners now, too.
Yeah.
You get, like when I started it, I'd have like rage fits, especially like the video liners. Like, so bad. So bad.
Those are awkward to do, I feel like.
Man, I was like fresh from the farm, like, and they're like, you say this stuff into a camera, and I'm like, I can't do that, man. Like, there's not a chance. So they're like, and then it was strange to me that like the background and the scenery, that was another thing. So I'd get all the liners great, and they'd be like, you can't do it in your trailer. And I'm like, all right. So
you're like, but this is where I live.
Yeah, I know. So
you're like on the toilet. You're like, hey guys, thank you for listening to my new song on WW.
That's pretty much.
Oh man. So at what age like growing up, you lived on a farm, your family's farm. At what age did you like step out and start doing the music thing like full time?
Man, I started like when I was really, really young. I did like some violin lessons and stuff like that. And, you know, I did that for like 2 years, and then I went into like a choir, funny enough. But it was like, didn't feel right, like the right kind of music. So I kind of strayed away from music for a while.
Yeah.
And, you know, watching, my mom is a musician, and my grandfather on my paternal side was, you know, also a musician, but he was more of a farmer. He'd play at nighttime and all that stuff. But I kind of like, I picked up a guitar again at the age of 12, played that for like several years, and was really into the lead guitar stuff. And then, not anymore. But you know, I saw my grandpa playing and stuff, and I was like, that's kind of what I wanted to do. So I started writing songs. I think, you know, starting in like grade 8 or 9 or something like that, I started writing songs, and I was like, I really like doing that. And then I don't remember. I was like at some point in my life, I played them for people and they liked them, and then I kind of made that connection that I could write songs that people like, and they're like, you can sing all right too, but you know, the singing thing didn't come right away. I mean, I had to figure out what my voice was, and just, you know, I was trying to sound like Buck Owens and everybody else, and I was like, I can't sing that high. And then I realized, someone told me like, you're like a barra bass. I was like, you can't do that. And I was like, oh. And I didn't have any theory knowledge or anything like that, so it took me a minute to come into my own. But it's like, all right, this is where I sang. I sang down here, not up there, and figured it all out. But
I think if you were talking to people specifically in the male section of country music, they would prefer that lower range like you have than the higher one.
Maybe, man. You always want what you can't, you don't have, right? So
that's always how it works.
But you know, I'm happy. Sometimes I'll sing a song. I'm like, yeah, like that's all. Like, I don't know, some of those like rodeo queens and stuff like that. When I can get down there, I'm very, very happy with my voice. But
I'm sure, you know, Shay Mooney sometimes wishes he could sing like Johnny Cash, you know.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy how it
versa,
all works.
You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember seeing Shay Mooney like years ago before they blew up. I think it was at Boots and Hearts in Canada, and they're like at some like side stage. They got rained out, and I think their set got moved. And I remember like hearing him hit a vocal run. And I wasn't gonna watch the show, but I heard it in the distance, and I was like, I need to see who the heck that is. And me and my buddy ran over there and watched their set. It was insane.
Yeah, we just got Kurt took me as his +1 to a show here at town, and it was amazing. Tell him a little bit about it, Kurt.
I mean, Dan always says like Shay Mooney's the best singer in country music.
Yeah,
and he's probably right, dude. Shay's insane. But we went and saw him at Bridgestone, and they crushed. It was awesome.
Oh,
yeah.
I've known those guys. we did a tour together when I was with Michael Ray opening for Darius, and they were direct support. And Shay would just walk around like the halls with a guitar and would just like either rap or sing verses about whatever he was going on. So if you walked by him in the hallway, you would get rapped about or sang about. And he would just sing these runs like crazy. Like, it's insane. Like,
Man,
he's awesome. So
that's a bucket list moment for me. Have him write a song on the spot.
yeah.
Come on.
It was funny too being at the show because those guys know Kurt well. So we were in the pit. Kurt was like, "Do you want to be here in the back with all the suits, or do you want to be in the pit?" And I was like,
suits,
"Let's
yeah.
go to the pit."
Actually, funny memory was at the end of the set, Dan was handing out guitar picks to all the fans, and I gave Dan a guitar pick, and he didn't realize it was me at first who grabbed it. And he was like, "Oh." So it's weird to have a fan hand you a pick or something.
No kidding.
It was
That
funny.
fucking made me laugh, man.
I wish I had that on
It was a
video.
fun show. Me
It
too.
was really
Such a
fun.
fun show.
It was fun. It was like fun watching him interact with those guys because they'd come over and they'd see random person, maybe someone else they knew, and then they Kurt, you know.
Oh man, that's funny.
It was neat. Yeah, it's always fun. Nashville shows are weird because there's a lot of industry folks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But there's also a lot of people that would travel in from out of town to see it in Nashville.
that's true. Yeah.
So you do get some like crazy fans that are like come to town to go see their favorite band in Nashville.
It's a good mixture. I mean,
Yeah.
anytime, like even down here doing writers rounds and stuff,
Yeah.
it's like you're just kind of like playing with friends all the time.
Oh,
or
yeah.
people that you've written with like the week before. It's a really cool atmosphere.
Yeah. That's what I remember, like when we hit you up to play Writers Round the first time. I didn't even know if you lived in the U.S. full time or if you
Yeah.
were like back and forth.
I think I was like here. Was that 3 years ago almost?
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
I think
Dang.
I just moved down.
Yeah,
And that there's something about Nashville that like, I mean, as a Canadian, like don't hear me saying this wrong. There's lots of talent in Canada,
Yeah.
but the bar is so high here. I remember doing
it's
that
crazy.
writers round, and I actually tell people this story a lot because I got there and I remember I butchered all 3 of the songs I picked, and there's songs I played hundreds of times, but I remember like the talent sitting beside me and how good they were, and I was like, man, so intimidated. I remember like just shaking. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know how to mash that. And it was like, it is really kind of cool because at the end, it's like I was kind of, you'd think that they'd be like, oh, like whatever, but they took the time to like, say hi and just be really kind people. And I was like, that was kind of my introduction to Nashville was like that experience. And I was like, man, I got to work a lot harder. And I've never been afraid of work, but
yeah.
it was quite an experience. I remember talking to my wife, and I was like, "How do you think it went?" She's like, "It was not your best." But
I love a good, honest feedback.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But well, my wife is that. For
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. Well, the best ones are.
I'll like write a song, and I'm like, "Man, what do you think of this?" And she's like, or she'll love it. It depends on. But it's good to have that filter because if she told me she liked everything, then I don't know. She has a lot to say and she's helpful
For sure. I hate when I ask someone's opinion and they're like, "It's so great." I'm like, and I know I messed up. I'm like, for real, like be honest. Our front of house guy Todd, he is honest. I'm like, "Todd, did I butcher the fiddle?" He was like, "Yeah, dude." I was like, "Thank you." He's like, "Don't worry, I turned it down in the mix." I'm like, "Okay, cool."
Okay, good.
Nice, yeah.
Well, that's the thing too. Like they know because they are doing that. They're hiding it behind something else, or they're mixing it. Well, all right. Yep.
I mean, I'm asking. It's
Yeah.
not gonna hurt my feelings. Just tell me,
Oh
like-
yeah.
So it's kind of hard to give negative feedback. Constructive is good. But it's like
Yeah.
you don't want to be like.
Well, it depends on the relationship you have with whoever it is, right?
Yeah.
So if you have a good relationship with that person, which of course you do with your wife,
Oh, I hope so.
Yeah. But that's, something that you guys have where you can talk through that stuff.
Yeah.
And that's what, even like Matt and I, being business partners, we can have a moment where we don't agree on something and like both talk about it and understand that we're not going to agree on it, but like that's healthy,
Yeah.
to be able to have those moments. And I'm not trying to be right all the time. I am, but yeah, no, I'm just joking. Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah. No, but like that's how it is. Everybody's right all the time because it's their perception and it's how they feel, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not like it's right or wrong, it's just where you're at or who you are, right? So you have to have those people that can kind of give you the other side of the coin.
No, absolutely.
If you don't, then you get disconnected from the world.
I think that's cool too. I mean, even when we're picking songs like we are, like it's not just me. If it was just me, it'd be like all stuff that sounds like the '60s. But it's like, so I need some like outside opinions, and they're always valuable. And you know, it's like after you hear a song, you're like, okay, like what place can we take it to in the studio with these guys? And you know, it's a collaborative thing. I mean, I think every artist would tell you it takes a village to make any of this stuff happen.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot of work goes into every aspect of it.
Yeah. It really does. That was the thing that, like, you know, working at a record label showed me is the power that many people have pushing in the same direction, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a record label. It can be a management company. It can be a publisher. It can be, you know, just people that you have in your corner, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Whatever it is. But having a group of people all pointing in the same direction for one goal is very, very powerful.
Yeah, that's something about this town too. Is like collectively, everyone's trying to help each other out. From my experience in it, it's
very
like
much so.
it's the first time I had that, like coming down here and people like reaching out and saying like, hey, like you want to, like you guys saying like, come and play this writers round, and you know that you don't get that everywhere. But it is here, and it's a chance to level up your game every single time. So it's like I said, that one experience, I went home and I practiced my rear off like every day.
Crazy.
Like, and just like, you know, no matter, it was all nerves, right?
Yeah.
I'm just like, how do I beat this? And it was like some panic attack I had because I was like, this talent beside me is so nuts. I was like, I just need to hone that in, and now it's like, it's fun.
Yeah.
But you need to experience those things and have people around you that support you to get to that place.
Yeah. It's weird too because like you're used to playing to these big crowds in Canada and all of that, but sometimes when it is just 150 people, it's a different thing, you know. It's like, it's strange, and you know, if you're often playing full band shows, playing the acoustic gigs sometimes are different, you know.
Absolutely, man. And it's like, it is a breath of fresh air to go back and you know, experience that in Canada. I'm really lucky to have the fan base and support I have there.
Yeah.
But it's also really nice to come here and experience like that kind of floor again, where it felt like, you know, I did the grind back in Canada, but I'm happy to do it again here.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's a bit different. This is like everything I worked for in the past is kind of leading to this because like I said, the bar is higher. It's much, much higher. Like you can go into any bar on Broadway or throw a stone down there and hit 5 people that can play the guitar better than you or sing better than you. It's just the reality of this place.
Yeah.
So it's like, you just got to surround yourself with people that are, you know, willing to help you out, and there's lots of them here that do that and be ready to put the work in. And that's the difference. Like coming here and experiencing that is so refreshing and so amazing.
Yeah.
Guys,
I have to go home and practice now. I'm sorry. I'm all fired up now.
Yeah. Well, dude, I just got like a Brent Mason telly the other day. I'm in love with it. But it's like, man, I have to practice at that. I haven't touched like a telly in Lord like a year or something. And it's like you realize how behind you are. But I'm like, man, it's like every little thing.
It's like spinning plates, man. It's like, because I know you're shedding steel guitar, right? Are you still working on that?
Oh, buddy, I can play like it. I hear something in my head, and then it'll take me like 6 hours to learn it, and then I'll like take like 30 takes and comp it all together. And so
you're playing steel in your demos, or?
I'm trying to, man. It's tough. It's like to get what I want on there. It's like there's a certain point where it's like you could probably just use a sample and do it in like 20 seconds, but I don't want to do that. I want it to be like traditional country steel.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to learn it, but as you know, I'm sure you're very well aware of like the learning curve.
It's the intonation's the hardest part too.
Man, yeah. It's like in the minors, and man, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Yeah, I know, because the other day you sent me a clip of one of your songs, the steel part. And I was like, man, this sounds great. It's not quite there though. Something, and I was like, who played on this? It was like it was you playing Paul Franklin's part or something.
Was it? It was yeah, I think it was like oh shoot. I think it was like a cover or something I did of City Lights, and I don't know who that was. I don't know if that would have been Drake or
maybe I'm misremembering or something.
Yeah, no, it was I played the thing, but it was basically like one of the, you know, like like what that famous, like every fiddle player has done that lick, every steel player has done that lick, but it took me forever, And what I used to do is like instead of using the pedal, I just like clean up all my sloppy stuff by like using faders in my thing. So I'd like put a fader on there, and everyone's like, "Man, like you're so good with the volume pedal." I'm like, "No, I'm not using it at all."
Edit in post.
I'm learning it, but it's one of those things.
I'm really bad at like the computer stuff, man.
I am too.
People, people like have me like fly them tracks, and it's like you're sitting in a room by yourself, and you've got finger picks on in a bar, and there's a steel guitar here, so you're this far away from the keyboard, and then it's here, and then there, and then you're trying to type with the finger picks on, and you're trying to do all this, and it's so annoying. I hate doing it. That's why I always call Charlie. I'm like, Charlie, I'll split this money with you. Just engineer it so I don't have to do the computer nonsense. So I can just play. I don't have to worry about organizing things, and I don't know. I don't like doing it. But I mean, I do, but like I don't.
Yeah, I just switched to like a loop. I'm like, it's so annoying to like get in there and do it. I know I'm gonna screw up like 30 times anyway, so it's like it works out for me.
And then what I would do is like if someone's like, hey, I need 4 passes on this tune. I just want some fills, nothing too specific. I go, okay, I'll do 4 passes over the tune, and then I'll send them the unedited tracks, and then they'll pay me. What ends up happening is they pick the parts where I mess up, and it makes it into the song, and it's like I'm like, ugh. So now I'm like, I can't be doing that anymore because some people don't know. It's like it's not always master level sessions or producers you're working with, you know. So sometimes I end up with like some squirrely stuff on the records, which is fine, but it's not like perfect. Like I'd like.
Sounds real.
Yeah. Sounds real out of tune sometimes.
Well, there's some things that perfection is exactly what you're going for, and then sometimes it's imperfection can be cool.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of producers, tell us who you're working with for this next project.
Todd Clark is my main guy, and he's so great because he works so much in the pop world, and what I do is really traditional based. So if you have all those Nashville cast playing, and you have that kind of modern production, it brings it into a unique space. It's kind of got like this like modern miking and mixing techniques over what these guys have always done the same, but it's unique obviously every time, but it creates a cool sound. And I think that's what, like, honest to God, that's what like Mutt and Shania did back in the day. A lot of people, I remember one of my first radio interviews, this guy asked who my favorite influences were. I was like, Shania Twain is like my #1.
Yeah,
for sure. But it's like I also listen to like Buck Owens and Lefty Frizzell and all those guys. But Shania's in there. They're like, well, she's not country. And I was like, well, describe a country song. And they're like, it's steel, fiddle. And I was like, tell me a Shania song that doesn't have those on it in the 90s or even early 2000s. And they couldn't. And I was like, it's just produced differently.
Yeah.
And it's like the kicks are coming through harder. And it's like, but all of that stuff is pretty much played quite similarly to like something like some Western swing, like No One Needs to Know and all that stuff. Like that's very swingy.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about being from like Canada, and I say this a lot, is that I'm not from a specific state. So like I love to pull all the different genres from each of the different states into my music. So like I'll listen to a lot of like Texas swing, like Bob Wills, and I'll be like, I got to write a song in that vein, and I can.
Yeah.
Because I'm not loyal to. I'd say if I had to pick a state, it'd be Tennessee. I've been here now, but I've got an American baby that's from Tennessee, but it's like,
whoa, cool.
It's not
crazy.
Yeah.
Are you like green card or dual, or how's it work?
I'm on an 01, but
Nice.
I'm definitely gonna get citizenship here.
Nice.
It's just like the process though is that you have to basically be here for 6 months without leaving, and I was like, I'll go bankrupt if I do that.
Yeah.
So I need to figure it out.
Well, couldn't the wife get citizenship and then you get it like back from that?
I have no idea.
Yeah, maybe you can trick the system that way.
Yeah, who knows? That's above our pay grade for sure.
Yeah,
We have signed some paperwork to help some Canadian folks be down here.
Yeah.
Like tell them that we'll help with like getting them gigs
like their
and stuff
O1s
like that.
and stuff.
Yeah.
Who are they?
Owen Riegling and
I
Allie.
love Owen, man.
Yeah.
Owen's he's the sweetest dude ever.
Yeah.
And like, and
So talented.
He came to like my house with my buddy Daryl. I write with a ton, and like I made steaks or whatever, and he was like, Daryl was telling me, he's like, yeah, like, he's like, it was so special, like, getting to be at Jade's, and like, I'm like, man, I got to be like telling everybody that I cooked him a steak. And I was like, that's gotta be my claim to fame. And sure enough, look at him, man. Like he's
doing great.
He's flying.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen to a better dude. Like
Yeah.
he's a sweet dude, incredible songwriter.
Yeah.
And an incredible singer.
Yeah.
Like
Great voice.
It's all working for him.
Yeah, it's cool. But I mean, having said that, I'm sure he's looked up to you. I'm sure for a long time.
I don't know, man. I'm looking up to him.
Humble fight.
Yeah,
He's like, I remember like seeing him, like writing with him for the first time, and I was like, this guy's definitely ahead of where people are kind of slaughtering him. Like I think that like his ability to write just even on his own is much better than a lot of people I've worked with.
that's cool.
So seeing him, like the more he comes to this town, even like it's there's no doubt about it's just when it's gonna happen at this point.
Cool. Yeah.
So it'll happen. Trust me. That guy has got all the goods.
Yeah.
So.
It's awesome getting to see like more of the Canadian scene. It's funny. I talked to Kurt. I'm like, I don't know if like what it is, but I feel like it's bubbling up. Like more and more Canadian artists are starting to get traction.
Them all to Nashville.
Well, yeah, it's probably helping.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we can help. Yeah. But it's super cool. And like when we did those Canada nights, like the one that you played at the end with James as well was such a great night.
Oh, so she
At
don't know
Live
that
Oak.
he wrote that one.
Oh no, I was talking about the round that you played where we
Yeah.
did all Canadian artists.
Dude, I still have that shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wear it
Yeah.
all the time. And people are like, what's going on with like, I was like, yeah. I
Yeah.
almost wore it to my kids' play.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, maybe the beer cans on the antlers.
Yeah.
Not a good look for
Yeah.
that, but
I don't know. It's pretty cool.
That's a
Yeah.
fun shirt. I remember coming to Sawyer with that idea. He's like, "That's actually pretty great." I was like, "Yeah, it's
it
fun."
looked cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
You
fun.
guys, there's a lot of people that like don't get Canada, but you nailed it.
Yeah, hell
Some
yeah.
people will just do like a bottle of maple syrup and call it a day.
Yeah,
You
we're
guys
like-
put the work in.
Yeah, let's party. Yeah,
Or a beaver.
Yeah.
That's a big thing too.
I was gonna say a moose. Like I feel like a moose.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know. if-
more up to speed, I'd say.
yeah, that seems like very Canadian.
I think Trailer Park Boys.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
That's my favorite.
Or Letter
pretty
Kenny.
good.
That's what Matt always. What he's a Canadian person. He like quotes Letter Kenny.
Man, it's funny because like where I grew up, that's kind of how people talk.
Yeah.
Like it's legit. Like it's
Where is that? What part of Canada?
Millbrook, Ontario. So it's like 2 hours outside of Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So like Eastern.
Yeah, like I just keep driving until you see cows and cousins.
Yeah.
And you're there, pretty much.
Hell yeah. Where's Boots and Hearts? That's like more in the.
Barrie. So it's still in GTA,
Okay.
but it kind of like it's maybe. I'm trying to think where it would be.
What's the festival that's like in northern central Canada where it's like someone described it as like the Texas of Canada?
Like Alberta?
Yeah. Isn't there a festival out there?
There's Big Valley Jamboree there.
Maybe
There's
that's what I did.
Calgary Stampede.
Stampede.
I
Calgary
got
Stampede.
I got a buckle on from the Stampede.
Oh,
right
cool.
now. Yeah.
Sick.
I've never ridden a bronc or anything like that. I can ride horses, but I'm not getting bucked off of them if I can
Yeah.
help it.
Life's going
They
too
gifted
good now.
this to me,
Yeah.
so I was like, I gotta wear it.
That's sick.
But
Hell yeah.
Well-
I was at that Calgary Stampede one time, and I was at catering eating, and someone came up to me and like was like, "Hey, dude," and like slapped me and almost spit out my beans, and it was Chad Kroger behind me.
no way.
Yeah,
Wild.
That sounds about right.
yeah. It was a good time. We had a good time that day. It's fun. It's fun up there.
It is wild, like the people that are just there. I think that was my first experience with I can't remember how many people are in the tent, but it's like 20,000 or something insane.
Crazy.
And it's like it just was crazy because I was just starting out, and they're like, "Do you want to play this?" And I was like, "Sure." And then I was doing all like the regular like fair grind and stuff like that, which is awesome. And then
Yeah.
it's like there's like 600 people or something there, and then you go into like the Stampede, and it's like 20,000, and you're like, "Oh, my Lanta."
Yeah.
There's a threshold though you cross when there's like that medium ground where you're still super nervous before a show, but once that many, you're just kind of like, all right, like whatever. Like if I screw up, it's like who cares?
Just a sea of people.
Sometimes
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't even like physically comprehend how many people are out there.
Yeah,
Like we played some festival in Canada recently in Montreal.
Lasso. Yeah,
Yeah, and we talked about it on the Aaron pod. And I just looked out. I'm like, I don't know. And it was like
Yeah.
75,000 people or
So
something.
crazy.
yeah. I was at that last year as well. I think you guys were the night before or something like that. But it was like I went out and it was nuts because I was like watching. There's the twin stages, and I was trying to catch Charlie Crockett's set because I that guy's awesome as hell.
Yeah.
Super awesome.
That's a good steel guitar.
And oh man, I was just everything about it. I was like, I almost was late to my set because I was like watching his thing on the other stage, but like I was distracted by him, and I wasn't like kind of mentally preparing for the crowd. And then I went out and did the show, and I was like just blown away. I was like, I should have mentally figured this out before I walked on stage. I should less Charlie Crockett, more work. But no, I don't regret that for a second.
Well, that's the cool part about festivals is you get to see some other acts too.
Yeah.
You know, when you're touring, you probably just see the
Man,
people that you're on the
I've
road
got
with.
a bucket list of people to see. Charlie Crockett was one of them, man. He was awesome.
Who else is on it?
Yeah.
Man, I get to see the one, Jake Worthington. He's definitely up there. I get to see him in like 2 days because we're doing a Cody run up in Canada this week, I guess.
That's
and
gonna
then,
be awesome.
Oh, dude, and Cody, another one too. So Jake and Cody, Zach Top probably as well, and
So
Randall
good.
King, man, I like his stuff. Those are kind of all the new music. Anything I listen to that's newer than like 1990 would be those guys.
Those guys. Yeah.
I for a while mine was Willie Nelson, but we got to open for him, and that was great. It's also his birthday today, so happy birthday,
Happy birthday,
Willie.
Willie.
Yeah, is it? I thought it was like last month or something.
No, I think it's today.
Am I losing my mind?
Yes. I don't know. Maybe,
Maybe
I'm
it was
wrong. Now
Loretta
I'm like,
Lynn's or
we're-
something.
Well, when this comes out, it won't be his birthday, but
True.
yeah, fair enough.
everybody's right.
One dude I want to see is Alan Jackson.
Yeah.
I got to see him, and it was like he's legit. Like he
Yeah.
just like stands in like one place, is just
the
the
George
boss.
Strait.
Yeah, he's the boss, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as those guys, I mean newer guys, that's who I want to see. But I'd say
Yeah.
like George Strait's on there. Alan, I watched him, and it was amazing. Like the instrumentation on that stage is just like it's on par. Like,
Elite.
it's a
Yeah.
killer band. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
I actually did get to see Alan kind of in Tortuga in 2017, April 2017, I think, or February, whenever Tortuga is. But Luke was playing at the same time as Tortuga, or sorry, at the same time as Alan, and this is before I played for Luke, so I went to go watch Luke play because he had like kind of the bad slot because it was the same time as Alan.
Yeah.
So, but I went and watched Luke just because I was his buddy, and that's kind of when that was the day they hired me actually.
no kidding.
Yeah. But apparently Alan was nervous about playing at the same time as Luke.
Because Luke was
Really?
popping off.
This is before Hurricane went to before it went #1, but it had been at radio. But yeah,
Yeah, it was like working though.
yeah,
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That's always tough. Like, I mean, I've been at multiple festivals where there's multiple acts at the same time, and sometimes the side stage act will be like really good, you know,
Oh,
because
yeah.
when they booked it a year before, that person was like on the come up, and now they're like really coming
You
up.
see that a lot in Canada because
Yeah.
like there's some festivals will book them and then they're like, yeah, like we're trying to get across North America as a whole.
Yeah.
So they'll sign the thing, then they blow up, and then they're like their guarantees like are much lower than they should be.
Oh, yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
it's like you get to see them in Canada. It's a treat,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm excited though. Like anytime a new artist comes in and I'm on the same bill and I know what's happening with their careers in the States, and you get to kind of like witness their show like on a more personal level. It's
Yeah.
kinda cool.
We got to see Zach Top. He played in town, and
man.
for the album release show.
I wanted to go to that
was
so
great.
bad. The baby kind of slowed things down.
Yeah, you'll
but
have that. Yeah, pretty important, you know.
even at the Raise Rowdy thing, like I stuck around with Marina after, and I was like, we
Yeah.
have to watch him, and she's like, all right, and like we watched him, and she's like, she's blown away, and I was like, I told you, like this
He's
guy's got the thing,
Yeah.
and it's a sin how good he is on guitar. Like he should only have like one thing.
Yeah. yeah.
Yeah,
This
like,
says the guy who plays pedal steel gutter on his own record.
Yeah.
I know, man. I didn't play anything on my own record.
Sorry, on
Trust
demos,
me.
I should say.
And then it's like it's pretty rough. Paul, I'll give all that to Paul and Dana Dugmore as well, and tomorrow Mike Johnson. I'm excited.
I was gonna
man.
ask who it is. Cool.
Yeah, Mike Johnson's coming.
That's great.
I got to meet Mike at a session one time when I first moved to town. This was like probably 2013. And Jeff King introduced me to him. And Jeff was like, hey, this is Mike. And I'm like, oh, Mike, good to meet you. He's like, this is Steel Guitar Player of the Year, Mike Johnson. And I was like, whoa.
Wow.
This before I even played steel. You
Crazy.
know, I was just playing dobro, I think.
Man, he played like the Daryl Singletary stuff he did was like stupid good. Like I was like, as soon as he's on this thing, because I reached out to Brent and I was like, hey, Paul pulled out, like, here's what I think, and then you know, Brent was like, these guys are very long retired. I remember one time Paul pulled out and I called Lloyd Green.
Oh,
like
God.
I got his number and he answered. He's like, yeah, no, man. Like I'm so he's really sweet though. Like
Yeah.
such a sweet dude. But I was
Dude,
like,
you're such an old soul. That's a cool call, Lloyd Green. That's hilarious.
man, he is like the coolest dude. And like he was just super nice. We talked for like 30 minutes or whatever. And so that was a bucket list experience just to talk to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean those guys that like Brent sent, I was like, yeah, all these guys work. And Mike was one of the guys. I was like, I love this guy. I love everything he did with Daryl as well.
Yeah,
So
it's a
I was
legend,
like,
man.
let's bring him in.
I when I first bought my steel guitar, I found Paul's email address online, and I shot him an email. I'm like, hey, Paul, my name's Kurt. Like, I just moved to town. I was wondering, do you teach lessons? And he replied, he's like, no, sorry. Like, he wrote me a nice email, but
Yeah.
it was cool. And I finally got to meet him when he beat me for CMA Touring Musician of the Year. Like, officially in person. So.
He's a funny guy, man. Like
Yeah.
he's
Super nice guy.
that email though, I know it's very Paul Franklin. If you were to have an email for yourself, it would be he's pretty much him. But he was in oh shoot, it might have even been Lasso or something. They're coming in that day with Chris, and I was like, man, let's meet up, and we missed him. Like we would have been driving out as he's driving in, but he's a really cool dude. I have his number, and I've tried texting him, but I think that's like his VIP list. So I have not made it there. But
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. That's
Man,
so great.
his speech at the CMA award thing was incredible. Because I don't think of as Paul as a guy who tours a lot. So
Yeah.
it's weird that he would be, in my head, I was like, it's weird that he's kind of even nominated. And then, because I didn't think that he was touring with Chris anymore. Well,
Yeah.
the speech he gave, it was just like, I was like going to cry. Like, it was so great. Essentially, he was like, well, after Vince left the Eagles and I didn't have a home on the road anymore, and he wasn't touring at all. And in 20, whatever year it was, 19 maybe, or 21 or something, he's like, Chris asked me to come back out on the road. And I finally felt like I had a family again on the road, and his kids are around and they're going to school and being surrounded by their laughter and surrounded all my friends. Like I felt like just at home again. And I'm over here like,
man,
I love you, Paul. So great. And he gave this beautiful speech and everyone clapped. And it was like, it was awesome.
he's like, yeah, all those guys, like all those session players. Like I was so intimidated the first time we had like a live session, but they're all incredibly humble and kind. Like is insane. Like it's nuts. Paul is one of those guys. He's the golden standard of, you know, a human and professional musician.
That's the best.
Yeah. So
Because
it's
there's
like,
some times where you're one and not the other, you know?
yeah, they say like don't meet your heroes, but like
Yeah.
those guys are, you know, they're up there. Like and they're great. I'd say meet them if you
Yeah.
can.
Yeah, the best heroes that are the ones you meet and they live up to the expectations. you
Yeah,
know?
man.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's Paul for
Super
sure.
cool.
He's a super great guy.
So let's talk about the new music that you're cutting.
Yeah.
Stylistically similar to the previous record.
We're
No,
going.
let's talk about steel guitar more.
Yeah. I'm in. But I'd say more country. Like
Yeah.
I mean, in Canada, it's the way it works is like it's 40% CanCon, which is like 40% of Canadian country musicians are spun, but because the rest of that is all American and international stuff, it's basically like the top selling, which is pop country.
Yeah.
So when we first kind of started music, it was still country, but it wasn't like nearly as country as I wanted it to be, just to kind of get my feet wet.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like we released something like Rodeo Queen straight out of the gate and everyone was like, what the hell is this? You know, like, so we've been gently getting more and more country. And like this next phase, I think the last album I'm super proud of, like top to bottom,
Yeah.
all really country.
Very country.
And this next project, more country. That's
great.
Just how it'll be until, we've somehow time warp into the 1960 or something.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm aiming to do. I think visually in my mind, I always like we have like twin fiddles on stage and stuff, so I'm gonna be bringing hopefully a lot of that influence into my music. So I mean, we had a lot of that. I mean, we had Stuart Duncan in there doing like the twin stuff on some stuff as well, and Larry Franklin and Janae, like they know what they're doing. So those are our three go-to fiddle players. So we'll have them, you know, doubling some stuff up, or you know, maybe get both of them at the same time. It'd be kind of
Crazy.
cool.
Yeah.
I follow Post Malone on the internet, and he posted a clip recently where it was him like kind of headbanging to like some of his country stuff that he's put out, and he goes, "Man, listen to Larry Franklin on that fiddle," and that's like the only thing he said like on the whole post on this post. Anyway, I'm like, that's awesome. Like the whole thing is like he's calling out Larry, who's like a great fiddle player, played for the Time Jumpers and played on Luke's music and everything. I'm like, that's so cool of Post to do that. That's awesome because Larry played on Love You Anyway, like the Luke song. So I've listened to that song more than any song in the world because I practice to it like every day, and he's awesome. So having him and Stuart and Janae is just like the most musical person in the world. So it's going to be great.
She did. There's one thing on, what was it? It was like, Shaking in Them Boots. There was like a line where it's like, the rooster crows, and then she did like a like a kind of like a chicken noise. I was like, you're a genius. Like only she would like come up with something like that. It was so, it's just so musical and made sense. It was
joyful.
Like, oh yeah, I was like all three of those, and it's nice being able to kind of filter out which ones, because like I'll pick a list of songs and I'll be like, this is more of a Stewart thing, or more of a Larry thing, or more of a Janae thing, and you can kind of pick, and like they all bring their own thing to the table. And they're all incredible. So I definitely like, as far as guitar players go, like Brent, that he just always is the guy. But it's like,
we have this playlist that we listen to before we go on stage, like in Luke's green room. We'll sit around, have a beer, and like kind of put our phones away for 30 minutes and just as the band hang out and crack jokes and whatever, shoot the shit. And I looked over at Dustin. I go, I think Brent Mason has played on every song that we've listened to in the last 20 minutes, just sitting here. And he's like, yes. You know, because it's like Alan Jackson and whoever, you know, it's just like literally he's played on every one of these songs. You know, it's like Pickup Man or what, you know, or Watermelon Crawl, or, you know, it's just craziness. It's on everything.
I took a lesson from him, and I remember like he like,
that's sick.
I did a couple. That's how I kind of like got to know him. I was like taking lessons from him, and I was like, it'd be crazy because I was in Canada at the time. I had no idea he was still doing sessions and stuff. I just looked up to him as a player, and I was like, "What would you play on my records or whatever?" And he's like, "Yeah, like I still like every day I record." And I was like, "No kidding." So he like Honky Tonk Revival. He like came in, and like we were using Derek Wells, who's incredible, but he got so busy that we couldn't use him.
Yeah.
So it like, and the timelines and stuff, it just wasn't happening. So then after Honky Tonk Revival, we started doing the Live Up the Floor thing. And after I heard Brant, it's just like I have to have him on everything, just based on his style.
Yeah.
It's very me.
Yeah.
But you know, lots of I'm not shirking any of the other guitar players on my stuff because I love them and they're incredible. But there's something special about Brant and what I'm trying to do in country music. So it's like, he's on everything. I started taking lessons though from him, and I remember like the first thing he's like, "Yeah, can you like play this?" And he did this like waterfall lick, and like in my mind the notes, none of them made sense when he played it slow. It was like, I was like, this doesn't make sense like at all.
Yeah, and a waterfall lick is like combining fretted notes with open strings for non-guitar players.
It was just like it was madness. Or you can just say it's madness, what he did. Like, it was like, and it took me like a month, and I practiced like every night, and I finally got it. But it's like insane. Like, and he was just like so easily did it. But he's like the best. He's like the most recorded guitarist in history. So it's like that stuff to him is like, you know, nothing.
It's like reciting your ABCs.
But
it's nostalgic too, because he's like the sound of the 90s too.
Yeah. Crazy.
Rips.
And it's like a lot of the I know it's like him and Dan Huff on a lot of that Shania stuff too. So like, you know, both they were playing influenced like, you know, what I do in music now. Like a lot of those instrumental licks and guitar licks were key to, you know, half those songs. Like imagine like Pickup Man without that intro, or like you're saying, or you know, any of this, like Chattahoochee even, like when you hear that, you associate that with the song.
Oh yeah,
well written songs, but like those parts just add so much
depth
beef to them.
Yeah, Absolutely.
It's like, it's insane.
Iconic to the point where you can literally play that in between songs and everyone knows what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, and across genres even, not even just in the country world. If you play that little lick, it's like sometimes like you'll hear bands play Metallica licks in between songs and stuff, and everybody knows what it is. You could be at a country show, you know it's Metallica.
Yeah.
If you hear those licks, you know exactly what song it is.
There's a while that, like, I'd say, like, maybe the past 10 years, it's starting to come back now, but there's a while where that just wasn't a thing for a minute. And I was like, you missed that. It was just kind of like, it would just get into the song kind of without that, like, intro. So I remember I learned this one solo that Brent did on a Shania tune, and it's like, once I figured out how to move within that, like, D shape, I literally based like 2 songs off of that. I was like, I did 2 licks and then I showed them to Brent and he made them way better. But he's like, oh, like, how did he come up with this? Like, man, I stole this from The Love Gets Me Every Time or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like the like that, but like Rodeo Queen, I've used that same kind of like progression into that, and then he played it, made it better. And then the one we just released, Pure Country, I stole that kind of like caged system from Next Broken Heart, like like I stole all that kind of system and created. If you listen to it, you'll be able to A and B, and you're like, okay. But it's like all those things like were inspired by Brent, so it's funny. Like I'm taking his own work back to him. I'm like, I messed it up a little, but you can fix it.
Well, that's where it starts changing and morphing, is when you mess it up.
Yeah,
it becomes more of a Jade thing.
Yeah,
but he's like, it's cool because he understands what I'm trying to do and he does it.
Yeah,
he's just a very musical mind. Him and Paul in there and all of them, really, it's just like a magical experience. Like
so cool.
I remember like the first time I wanted to cry like every song. I was like, how did they do this? It was nuts, but
and they
feels
go home
surreal.
And they're like talking to their wives, like, oh yeah, it was just another day at the studio, not a big deal.
Well, it's funny in town. Like I have buddies, you know, of course, that are singer songwriters and stuff. One of my buddies is a songwriter and had 30 cuts last year.
That's nuts.
Nuts. But he was like, man, I'm like drywalling the house this week, and it's just like really nice to not have to think about producing or writing songs. And I was like, that's the most first world shit ever. You know, like you write so many songs that you're like, man, it's nice to do manual labor for a day. You know?
That was like my first, like, I'd say year or two, like touring and stuff. I was still like farming. So I remember it was so weird because I'd like wake up at like 3 and like it was awful in the morning. In the morning, I'd like wake up at 3 in the morning. I'd go out and feed cattle, and then I'd like come back in, change, and then have to be on the road for like 5. And it's like there's one like it was just so weird, like going from like that to a show and being like, not too long ago I was just like dropping like 2 bales in a feeder and trying not to mess up. But it was like, it's insane.
Well, that's part of that grind, man. But that's also part of what made you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'll go back and visit the farm and like hop in a tractor, and it feels, I can still drive it. I just need to make sure. But it's like, it is nice just like kind of creating that separation sometimes, because it actually like, you remember what you're writing about. You're like, oh, I'm writing about like a country life that I grew up in. And it's like, but I've been in the city. So it's like to reassociate yourself with those like other things in life, it helps you as an artist, I think, a lot.
Yeah, makes sense.
I'm sure maybe that's how Alan Jackson wrote that one song, Hole in the Wall or whatever.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, he's doing drywall one day.
Oh, yeah.
been.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, too. And I think it's hard when you're that famous as like Alan Jackson is, or to not disassociated with reality. Right.
Yeah, I think George Strait, like guys like that, I think he's still got like a ranch stuff, a fully functioning ranch. I know like Shania has multiple ranches. She's like legit. Like I got to meet her and like she almost took my hand off with her handshake. Like, and sweet woman. And the thing is though, she still trains horses and does all that stuff when she's not touring. But then she's a megastar. Yeah. Like absolute megastar, but you know, she'll go back and work with the horses and do the farm girl stuff, and same with George. And I think that's why
Kojo.
Yeah, Kojo too. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's insane.
You got to ground yourself somehow, right? However that is. So
Yeah.
if going back and driving a tractor is how you ground yourself, that's a great way to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's different now. I used to drive like a Massey, and my dad's got all the different crap going on now. It's like, now it's like a paddle shift, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. But
what is he growing up there?
he's doing mostly soy, and then I think some corn, but he's kind of shifting over to cattle. So like 5 years ago, he got like what was it, a Wagyu, and he's trying to like basically round the herd out to be like mostly Wagyu, but he's making so much money off like just the calves. Like everyone's like, oh, like that's the cross calf, and he's just selling those and making good coin.
Crazy.
I think Zach's dad was a auction rancher or whatever.
He was an auctioneer.
No kidding.
So they ran the auction house.
Farm, ranch.
Yeah, out in Washington.
Yeah.
So his dad was the guy that would like call the cattle.
Oh
like,
man,
when they were auctioning it off, I guess.
Everyone's got their own like cattle call.
It's crazy.
It's like,
yeah,
I would like different people. I'll go to like their house. I remember growing up as a kid, and like I always thought that there's like one that was just used across the board when I was like 8, 9, or 10. So I'd like call my cow like, go boss, and the people would be like, what are you saying? And I'm like, but everyone's is different.
Yeah.
So, but I always laugh.
We played this charity event in Austin this past week for like Matthew McConaughey's like charity foundation.
All right.
And
Low hanging fruit.
there was an auctioneer like auctioning off like meet and greets and all different kinds of things. And they raised like $12 million for this kids charity or whatever, some crazy amount of money.
Nuts.
And they were like, it's funny to hear them go, but like really fast and like calling everything out. Hey,
my dad would never let us bid at auctions, like ever. Like we go and he's like, and even when I was like old enough that I thought I understood, there's like a language that you need to understand. Because like I almost raised my hand once because I thought there was like a heifer or something going for, I think it was like $600 or something. But like what I'd realize is the guy jumped to a different price, because sometimes they'll do that. They'll go like 6 and then jump and then go back down or whatever the heck they do.
Yeah.
But I didn't catch it, and my dad was just like, yeah, like no, unless he was fibbing to me. Maybe he was like just telling me like to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
But and making the whole thing out. But that's a language. I have a buddy, James Barker. Actually, his dad is an auctioneer. Yeah.
Oh,
is
really?
he really?
So before
Crazy.
James was famous, his dad was famous. It was Barker's Auction. So we'd go up, and then his dad would sell. My dad would buy all sorts of stuff from him, but then James became famous. But in the like, I remember.
World is really small sometimes.
Yeah, like well, James, he grew up like 20 minutes from me. So there's
So
like,
loud.
yeah, like so when some farmers pass away, they do like auctions out of their house to try to help clear things out.
Yeah.
And like I remember, I think James had moved to Nashville at this point, but I was like still like doing some farm. And I had like a load of hay, and like the whole road was just completely blocked off. And then I like looked at a sign, and it was like Barker's Auction, and it was like, your dad is like literally screwed up my entire day.
So great.
It was pretty funny. And the
That's country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The brakes on that tractor weren't great either. So it was
Oh boy.
not a fun day. I was like going down a hill, and like all the road was like closed. I was like,
Oh no.
tough.
Yeah. How many acres of land did you guys have up there that you farmed?
So we had 150 of our own,
Yeah.
which is like not like your Texas or Alberta, but
Yeah.
it's like all of our land. The difference is that we don't really rotate and change every year. So every year it's like we might rotate the specific crop,
Yeah.
but we're farming every inch of the farm. So
Yeah.
we had 150 of that, and then my uncle Ray Posadas, which was like the original Eagleson family home, which was, I think it was like 1840 something, 18.
Wow.
Yeah, 1845 or something like that. It was originally settled then. So I'm technically supposed to be the 7th. And that had like, I think 200 acres of itself. So like we'd kind of be back and forth between
Through all
that,
that.
my grandpa and my great uncle.
Yeah.
And then now my dad has his farm, a farm at the top of the hill that's got, so I think he's doing at least, my math might be wrong, 1, 2, 3, like 5 or 6 or
Dang.
something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a little different than when I was growing up. But
Yeah.
it's it's a lot.
Yeah.
Do you have any siblings that are gonna take over the farm, or?
I think I have 2 sisters that are really great at it. Right now, my sister's like looking after like 150 ewes and taking care of them on her own, which is really awesome.
Yeah.
But, and then I have another little sister that's like 8, that is, you know, incredibly gifted with that thing. You're either kind of like in farming, I find that like you're either gifted with the animal side of things or the agriculture. Some are great at both, but it's like if you're good at something, you should stick to that lane. And I think I was always in the barn with the animals and stuff like that. I'd be the sucker in the mouth for haying and stuff like that, but I didn't have much to do with like the combining or any of that. I was in the barn.
Yeah.
But it was like Ariana, my sister, she's great at all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
I don't know if she's great at a tractor. I wouldn't trust her in it yet.
Is this the 8-year-old or no?
No. That's Piper. She's pretty good. I think she's like mechanically inclined.
Cool.
One way to find out.
Are you the oldest? Or?
I am, yeah.
So you're what, 30, 29?
I'm 30 next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Happy early birthday.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
You
Thank
too,
you.
Kurt.
Hey, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too. Next week.
Yeah.
That'd make you what? What is that star sign?
I'll be 37. I'll be a Taurus.
Taurus.
A Taurus.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm a cusp, apparently. That's what people say. That
Cusp?
means apparently, I think Geminis have two personalities.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
and
here we go.
then this is what I'm being told, right?
Yeah.
And then before that, like I guess where my birthday falls, it's like a cusp. So I have 3 personalities, I suppose.
Depending on where Mercury is in the
Exactly.
In the grade,
yeah. Yeah.
I'm a Pisces, but I don't know like what sub of it. But
I don't know what that
Who
means.
knows?
So.
Pisces is fishies.
It means you're doing great.
Yeah. Water or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you got the new record coming. You, of course, dropped your last record last year, which honestly is one of my favorite records of the
Oh,
year.
thanks, man.
Dude,
I love your write up about it. I was just like, I don't even know how, like, I don't know. It's just, it felt really nice. I love reading all the things you say about it.
Yeah, thank you.
Pumps my tires, and you're a great writer. So it's
Well,
like,
thanks, man.
you put those two things together.
I'm not the best writer, but sometimes I take time to be.
Man,
you know?
I'd say you are. I mean, I was floating around the house all day after we read that.
Oh,
so.
good. Well, thank you.
I want someone to get in the writer's room with Nick, like some actual songwriters. I think Nick,
Dude, I'm
he's
in.
got some titles in his phone that are pretty good.
Man, all I need is title. I suck
your
at
guy.
titles.
All right.
I
I
Well,
suck at titles.
you write some licks, I'll write some titles, and we'll get some songs
There
done.
you go.
If you give me 6 hours, I'll have like a half a steel lick.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I can do that for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, I think you're the guy.
Why is there twin fiddles but not twin steel guitars?
I was just gonna
Be
say.
super out of tune.
You're talking about you're talking about Paul looking for a family. If Chris, ever hangs up his hat,
There you go.
I'll do the twin thing. I love my steel player, but I'll definitely. I mean, I use a sub 2 out depending on where we are, but yeah, I'll take 3. Why
There
not?
you go. 3 steel guitars on stage. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's so out of tune."
What's happening here?
Yeah.
I feel like if I were a steel player and Paul was like playing beside me, I'd wee a little for sure. I'd be like,
That's fine.
yeah, I'd be like, oh boy, it's him.
That white pea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh crap. Well, what do you think one of the biggest challenges of fatherhood that you've came across?
Schedule. I think that
Yeah.
like even right now, trying to get like these demos and stuff put together, it's kind of like there's no time. As you know, like you kind of get into a groove, and then you kind of are taken away from it, and you forget. You're like, oh, like what was my phrasing on this song that I was trying to do, and so it's just that. But I'd say that's like only really the first like 6 months that it's that crazy.
Yeah.
Because like basically you're just trying to keep the thing alive, for lack of a better way to explain it. It's just like how it is.
Yeah.
And like, okay, like we got through this, and you change them 6 times a day or once every hour, or more than that, depends.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, you're just kind of getting through it. But I'd say that, and then you miss your kids like crazy. That's tough. It's when you go out and you're away for like a couple weeks at a time. That does not feel great.
Yeah.
And it's only really Canada in the summer because everything is so like spread apart.
Yeah.
So it might be playing in Alberta, and then the next day like all the way in the East Coast. So you need to kind of use 2 days to chart your way there, just to be there a day early. So it's kind of like that. So you're away from home a lot in the
Yeah.
summer, but that's the only difficulty is just missing that.
Yeah.
But
What do you think, since you came to the U.S., that you've loved the most about the music scene?
I mean, I love all of it. There's so much, like so many different types of country music here. Like you can just kind of pick a night and you can look around town and see the different shows going on and be able to pick. And then also because of that, people are coming from all over the world. if you feel like writing a certain thing, like there's always someone that knows a guy that like writes in that kind of world or that space, and you can get together with them. Or it's like same with like the session stuff, like to get everybody in the same room the same day. It only happens in this town.
Yeah.
Here's something I was wondering too, since we talked about this earlier in the podcast. As a Canadian artist, is it harder to get certain songs pitched to you? Like, do publishers like, I don't want to give a Canadian the song because it's however that business side works differently, or is it kind of the same? Or
I'd say we get like the bottom of the ladder songs, which is fair because like a song that goes to the radio in Canada, since it's like, keep in mind Canada is the populace of California.
Yeah.
So they want their songs to be pitched to the top Americans that are going to make that song, you know, the most money and get it in front of the most listeners possible on radio or wherever else. So, you know, it sucks in a sense, but at the same time, it's completely fair because the songwriters will get more, you know, value out of that. So there's like a bunch of songs I listened to this week that my friend Travis Wood, he's an incredible songwriter.
Yeah.
But he sent me them over, and he's like, I was like, man, I'll cut this tomorrow. And he's like, it's on hold with like with Riley Green or something like that. And I was like, I get that 100%. You know, more people are gonna listen if Riley Green puts it out than if I did. So it's like, I get it.
Yeah, especially when teams have radio. You know.
Yes.
Yeah, that's our
key.
next step, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, our next step is like, and DSPs down here have been great to me. It's half the reason that we moved down is that She Don't Know got picked up by Apple Music down here.
Yeah.
And it went crazy, and I was like, yeah, that's you know, enough incentive for me to come down and try to do this.
Yeah.
So we were already thinking of it, and that just cemented the whole thing in place. But you know, it's incredible support all the way around. We're just looking for a radio team now, and I think that's maybe in the works right now as we're speaking, and that's the next step, man. That's it's tough.
I mean, your stuff honestly sits side by side with stuff that's on the radio and is currently working. Stuff like Zach Top, which has had like good radio push for his first single, and
that's incredible for I think a lot of people like me that are doing that, playing the country music in the space we're playing it. You know, you see someone like Zach flying up the charts and people loving that so much. And he was like, he's more brave than any of us, because there's still like a fine line we walk so that we're not going to one way or the other. But Zach just like went straight up country, as country as you can possibly get.
Yeah.
There's like, and it's incredible. It's a hit song. Like, I was listening to that album just the other day, and I was Lonely for Long. Like that song, like I was listening, I was like, this is a George Strait song, like 100%. And it's just like that whole album and everything he did on it is super country, and it's working.
Yeah,
it's kind of bringing back the music that, you know, a lot of us want to play. So good for him, and thank you to him for doing that.
Yeah,
it's good for genre.
Absolutely. And I remember talking, maybe it was you, Kurt, about after the show. I was like, Zach got to play his like album release show. He got to play so many covers in it because it is kind of like his first album. Yeah. So I was like, we're never gonna get to hear Zach do like a songbook like that again.
No,
you know, where it's like, and it's not just stuff from the '90s. It was like Good Directions and stuff that was like a little bit later. Yeah, but you got to kind of see some of the stuff that he loved, and then it sounded even more country because he was singing it.
That,
you know, like not that Good Directions isn't a country song; it's a very country song. But with Zach singing it, it was even more.
There's some singers out there like it's weird because like that type of singer just like disappeared for like 20 years.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden like Jake Worthington comes out of the woodworks, and then him. And the thing is like, you know, you can compare him to a lot of different guys, like, you know, that but at the end of the day, they're so unique to themselves.
Yeah.
I think that's why they came in to this space with their sound being the way it is and being so different from absolutely everything, and just busted the doors open, like in a huge way. So I'm excited, man.
I am too. I think it's a great time for traditional country sounding music, and for that to develop into whatever it goes to next, right? As you said, going back in time even further, you know?
Yeah, man, that's what we're trying to do. There's like so many different genres or parts of country music that have kind of just been, you know, someone's thrown the cover on for a while.
Yep.
But, you know, I really hope to hear some of that Bakersfield or old Western swing kind of stuff like come back in a big way. And I'm sure there's lots of people that are doing it, but I'm talking on a mainstream level.
Yes. Yeah.
That would be so cool.
I know.
Oh man, can you imagine
agree.
just like turning on the radio? And I'll say like a lot of the stations here are great for that, but just imagine like turning on like top 40, and then that's what you hear.
Yeah.
But it's fresh and it's new and it's something that you haven't heard.
Well,
Yeah.
Ernest put that the Dallas song out.
Yeah.
Damn
Yeah.
Dallas, or what's it called?
Yeah,
Damn
like-
Dallas or something.
That's it. I mean, everyone's starting to do it, which is like so awesome. Even flower shops. Speaking of Ernest, when I heard that, I was like, man,
So good.
that's it.
Love that song.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like all that stuff is coming back around in such a huge way. So it's like it feels great to be doing the music that I'm doing, and so many other people are doing it. Because if you're like 5-6 years ago, even it wasn't really.
The lane wasn't there.
It
Now
didn't
there is.
exist.
And that's the cool part about the genre kind of growing is the bigger it is, the bigger the lanes can be for each thing, you
Yeah.
know? So it's great to see the mainstream picking up the stuff that is the more traditional side. Because
Yeah.
honestly, I love everything, but that stuff sits the closest to my heart,
But
you
it's
know?
it's scary too, I think, for a lot of like the labels, radio, and everything like that, because you're like, is this too old? You know,
Yeah.
like is this like something like someone trying to copy that thing or whatever, right? But it's like it's starting to be like more well known. People are like, this is working. People enjoy it. It's fresh. It's new. It's like, you know, straight out of the oven, and it's great. You know, like it's awesome. And it's like all the modern production on it and modern flares on it, as far as like sound recording goes. It just makes it even fresher sounding.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
like you listen to a lot of the mixes and stuff, and I loved all the old mixes too, but there's a limit to what they were able to do back then, even in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, you'd hear all those guys like using tape and only getting a few like times to try something, but like now it's elevated. And like, I mean, even in the singing space, like if you're I've maybe done it like a couple of times where I sing through something a couple times and I'm like, okay, I'm done. But a lot of time it's like, oh, you're phrasing this like really poorly. Like you sound like you got marbles in your mouth, and you're able to do things over again. And it's the same thing for those session players, being able to like hear something and be able to change it instead of being stuck with what they have. It's
Yeah.
going to make that sound a lot bigger
Yeah.
and a lot fresher. So
Super cool.
I'm excited for it, man.
Embrace
we are
that
too.
technology.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
You
keeping
gotta.
it traditional.
Right.
Exactly,
yeah, you gotta
yeah.
you gotta figure out the way to make it you, but also like embrace what's happening, but make it how you want to make your craft. You know?
Yeah, I always wonder that too. It's like, what do they do back? Do they do it just like they do it now? You might know this, Kurt. Like, did they rehearse a bunch of songs like a bunch of times and then record it once, or you think they just like?
I mean, it depends on how old. I mean, you could cut things differently.
I think 60s they would have had
Oh,
to.
I don't know,
Had to.
actually couldn't speak, but I would assume that they just cut it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Especially like you listen to really old stuff, and it's like it's not perfect, you know.
Yeah.
How?
But it's still awesome, but it's just not like
I will say,
literally 100% perfect. you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I will say there's something to. I think like even a lot of guys play the click now, and a lot of those old songs had more emotion because it flowed.
Yeah.
It was in and out of
Speed
time,
up and go
you
back
know?
down. Yeah.
It's like, you know, you throw a lot of stuff, like even when I'm practicing like guitar or something, I'll throw something into my DAW and I'll try to like mimic it or have a click so I'm playing on time, and I'm like, this isn't in time. And it's I discovered that a few years ago, but it's like, you know, it sounds great
Yeah.
and it's very emotional, but it's like it'll speed up when it needs to and slow back down to where it needs to be as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've toured with different groups that, like, when I play with Charles, Wesley Godwin, like, they don't use a click live. And
Yeah.
Colby doesn't use a click live. And sometimes it was like, he's got this one song that Colby, we didn't close with, but it was like towards the end of the night. And adrenaline is running, and it's an up-tempo, like, train beat song. And it's like, give it up for the band. Here's Colonel and steel guitar. I'm like, it's like, boom, I'm like, I'm like, ah! I'm like, this was a lot slower than rehearsal. I just remember that Basement E show. I'm like, all right, good thing I had my coffee today. You know?
Man, we like, so when we're opening for bands, we almost have to, because like
We use a click with
play
Luke.
over.
Yeah.
Yeah, like we'll play over, and it's like we can't do that because then they'll just pull our plugs, which is not a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't know, whenever we do showcases and stuff down here, we're just doing it like just completely free of that. And there's
Running
something
it.
special about it. because you're really listening to like what your other guys are doing.
Yeah.
And it's like it's really cool. It's like it's cool to do both. I think it's
Yeah.
good to like see if you still got it and play to the click and make sure that you're in time and all that stuff. But it's also fun just to go out there and do the thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's nice. We've been, like I said, we played the click, but we've have more songs in this set without the click now this year. So it's fun. But I noticed like there's stuff where I have to lock in with Jake, our drummer. So I'm in that part of the set. I'm playing mandolin, so I'm like kind of in the percussion realm a little bit. So I go stand next to Jake to make sure I'm locking in. But it's hard when you're out on the thrust, you know, and you hear in the PA going and it's delayed and you're way out there in the middle of a state. So it's like I made that mistake actually on Saturday. I walked out, I had my pack turned real low, and I was just enjoying a nice quiet mix. And then I went out for a solo, and I was like, oh my God, I can hear both at the same time, 2 tempos. And I was just focusing on the click and playing. I was just like not even moving. I was just kind of standing still, like don't fuck up.
Man, I have the exact same. So I always used to do wedges. That's all I did when I came up. And we did this thing at Boots and Hearts. It was like this competition, but it was like to tons of people. So we're doing our song. And I was on the wedges, and I walked down the catwalk with no ears or anything, like singing the song. And there's like a barn. I don't know. You've probably played there before. I'm sure you have. There's like a barn off to the left, like stage left, and it was like madness. It was like 8 different me's, like just slapping around, and I like ran as fast as I'm not even joking. I ran back to my wedge. I was like
home,
insane.
I don't understand how like some of these stadium acts play these shows on wedges.
Yeah,
but they're not like out on the thrust for a whole song, you know, on wedges. No way,
crazy.
And if you were, it's like the wedges would have to be so loud, it would just be terrible for your hearing.
Dude, yeah. I think honest to God, I'm sure you do too, like to have hearing damage from...
I'm feeling it more since we're doing more shows. I'm going to have to get good earbuds.
Yeah. I mean, wearing in-ear monitors, I think, has saved my ears so much. Yeah. And I could be right next to Jake, and he's crushing the cymbals, and it doesn't even hurt, like not even close. Yeah. Because they're molded perfectly for my ears.
Yeah.
And so, and it's fun. I can hear better.
I just switched. There's these new like bud things that like just fit in like a regular bud, but they like completely block off all the sound.
Dang.
And they don't like violate you like the other ones do. Yeah, I remember the first time like getting them. They're like, I'm like, this is supposed to go in my ear, and it's like, yeah, and I'm like no. I'm like,
you're like, I don't know how
saving
this
that
works.
for marriage.
Oh,
getting fitted for in-ears is always weird. They put that foam in your ear, and it's like the weirdest feeling ever.
And then you think, what if someone gets left behind? And all,
or it rips all your ear hair out when they do it.
Man, that's nasty. Imagine having to do that.
No, I'll take my job over that.
Yeah, that's true.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Well, is there anything else you want to kind of plug here before we sign off, or?
Man, I don't know. I think I've said all I need to say.
All right.
Brother, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Follow Jade Eagleson on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best way. I have too many different handles.
Well, if you look up Jade Eagleson, you'll find it. There's not too many of your name.
Yeah, man. I'm getting like the spams now.
Oh,
I don't even. It's like, man, it is like Jade Eagleson, and it's like a picture of like my child, and I'm like,
this is weird.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, this is some weird guy. For
Yeah.
Sure. But
I get that on Facebook, dude. People are like messaging like my somewhat distant relatives,
Asking
like,
for money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Weird. I'm like commenting like, do not respond. I don't know what to do, but maybe someone in internet land will help me. But it's
I think
like
you block and delete the comment.
Yeah, that's what I do. But it's like still people are like, hey, what do I send this? I'm like, do not respond to this person. It's not me.
Man, someone called my grandma once, and they're like, I'm in jail. And I'm like, you didn't think it was me? They're like, she's like, no. But I was like, that's so weird. I'm like, how did they find? I guess the phone book.
Yeah.
There's like, I don't know if that's still a thing here, but it's
like,
not.
Don't look it up.
Yeah. Yeah, who has house phones anymore, you know?
Oh, they do for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. My mom and dad do too.
I've debated it because like that's just annoying.
Yeah, they're not the best always, but
yeah,
you need them a little now. So.
A little bit.
Yeah. Well, man, thanks for hopping on the pod with us and coming out here to the luxurious studio.
Man, it looks great in here. I love it.
We appreciate it, man. And I'll hit you up and try to make you play something else once you're unbusy for summer.
You got it.
Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, man.
Well, guys, I'm Nicky T.
I'm Kurt Ozan,
And we'll see you in the front row.
Thanks, Jade.